not good at it.
You'll be much, much better. And we've seen people literally working with Dr. Wes Youngberg. I just met with him at a conference in Palm Springs last week. And he basically wrote a book about how diabetes can be reversed. As a physician, he's one of the top physicians in the country, and he's definitely interested in collaborating with us through the application. You offer this. Yes, sir. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. We'll save that today. We'll save the other stuff for next week.
While they're getting ready up there, I got one thing I want to remind y'all of, that on December 1st, we're having, you reminded me of it, a holistic event, 10 Minutes to Healthy Holidays. There'll be five natural providers there. You can go in and talk to one, and then when the bell rings, and you go and talk to the next one, or you can just talk to one if you want to. It's all free, right? And if any of y'all have anything you want to put in the little goodie bag we're giving them, we're not charging anybody to do it. So if you have a discount coupon or something that you want to give, you know, the first 35 people that get there, they get the little goodie bag, you know, like a swag bag.
Where is it going to be held?
It's at Fayetteville Hyperbarium,
Oh.
next to Naturally Unleashed.
What's the day again?
December 1st, Thursday, 10 to 2 and 4 to 7.
Could it give you 35?
And Don, did you tell Mr. Braxton when you'd like your presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay, making sure. Okay, so we're like, Tony, have the floor.
Okay, my name's Tony Vaughn. I'm representing Tesseract Point, which is Fayetteville's new makerspace, co-working space, and event space. We've been working as a community for almost 4 years now, or at least since the beginning of the idea, working in various places, meetup groups, meetup.com, Facebook. We've been meeting as a group of technical makers, programmers, and that sort of thing. For most of the beginning, and then participating in co-working groups and that sort of thing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history. I've been here before. I'm not sure what's here. Right. So how do I advance? Okay. All right. So this is just a sample of photos from some of the meetings that we've been having over the years. Been meeting in places like Starbucks and Coffee Scene, Detour Coffee House. I think this is another Starbucks. The co-working group has been a fairly active group. A lot of these people are parts of both of the groups. We've been really interested in finding a physical location, though, and we've tried a number of different locations. We were interested in the Lafayette restaurant for a while. We were interested in a warehouse here downtown, another warehouse off of Lake Rim. All of those places sort of fell through for various reasons. Finally, we actually have a space, which is one of the main things that I want to announce today. But I want to go into a little bit of some of the adventures that we've been having this year. How do I advance? All right, that way, okay. One of the things that we did this year, we've been participating in mini maker fairs. The mini maker fair is basically an occasion where makers from a region will gather together in one location, and they'll put up a table and display some of the things that their group has been making. Over the past 4 years, we've been visiting different maker fairs in Raleigh and Burlington. This year, we've actually participated in our first one. Well, actually, last November, we participated in the Barnes & Noble Mini Maker Fair. We had a table there, gathered a few additional members. Then this year, we went to Burlington. We participated in their Mini Maker Fair. We had a table here and here. This is me working on basically what I'm working on is something I call Dylan, which is an animated character. It's still a work in progress. Here I'm actually building part of it. The idea is you go up to the character, it's a head, it's capable of looking at you, it's got a camera on it, so it can find your face. You're able to talk with it, and it can answer back. So it's basically a chat box, but with a voice interface rather than just a text interface. It uses IBM Watson for speech-to-text conversion, and then it uses AI/ML to determine what the next line is in the chat. And here, this guy is Andrew. He's working on a little robot here. This was on a Friday. This was on a Saturday. This weekend, we actually had two events. We did the Burlington Mini Maker Fair, and then we did the Space Apps Challenge, which was held in Greensboro. There. The Space Apps Challenge was held at Greensboro University, and Andrew was working on a robot which was part of that. We basically did the challenge remotely during the Maker Fair, and then we actually went on site to Greensboro the following day to do the rest of the hackathon. What we did there was, our project was something called FractalNet, and we worked on designing a series of radios, basically. It's a radio relay system that's intended to be used in caves underground on the moon and Mars, and potentially on Earth as well. The idea there is that if you're exploring a cave for the first time, you're surrounded by rock walls. You can't really communicate through rock around corners anyway. As long as you've got line of sight, you can use radio for communication. But once a robot or an astronaut goes around a rock wall, you're not able to communicate through the wall anymore. RF energy goes through walls, but it's very strongly attenuated. It's hard to get high data rates. So our solution was to have the astronaut or the robot, as you go through the cave, you leave behind a link in the relay, and then you're some distance into the cave, you're able to transmit through these relays back to essentially a central hub, which we call a base station. That was our project. We actually won locally.
Name it Hansel and Gretel.
We were talking about calling it like breadcrumbs or something like that before we came up with the name FractalNet. FractalNet is sort of the structure of the network. I don't have an image here, but the network is essentially a fractal network. It's a branching network. It's something like a mesh network, but it's not a mesh. It's a branching network. But each branch can continue to branch. So you've got a system that's potentially several subsystems that form one node, and then that system is a node in the network as a whole. And it's designed to have effectively an infinite number of nodes, because you might have to have a large number of relays if it's a very long and deep network. But the actual number of nodes in the network that are producing and consuming data will probably be small. So you have a lot of relays, but just a few stations that are actually communicating in the network. So we sort of sacrificed the addressing scheme for the number of communicating nodes in order to get a sort of embedded kind of addressing scheme that can eventually become an infinite number of nodes, if you're following me. I mean, there's another way to explain it. But we won locally at Greensboro, so we advanced to the global level, and out of more than 400 teams, we actually won globally for Best Mission Concept. And as a result of winning that, I'll come to that later. As a result of winning that, we didn't actually win any cash prizes or anything like that. We won the opportunity to travel to Cape Kennedy and watch from the VIP location the launch of the OSIRIS-REx mission. So that's one of our adventures this year. And this is another one of our adventures. I was fortunate to be invited to go to the White House earlier this year, where we had a gathering of makerspace organizers from all over the country. We gathered in this building adjacent to the White House, but it's got a very good view. This is the executive office building, where basically the White House staff meets. We got together. This is one of our breakout meetings. These are all makerspace organizers from the south part of the United States. So there are people here from North Carolina, from Florida, from Georgia, Alabama, basically the southeast. This represents the entire group. We gathered at the end of the session for a group photo on the steps. We're actually looking at the White House from there. This is me there. This is Andrew Coy. Andrew Coy is the White House Senior Advisor for Making, and he's responsible for organizing this whole meeting. President Obama has been having for the past 2 years, I think, maker fairs on the White House lawn, and growing out of that is sort of this idea that, or the recognition that there's no national organization that supports makers, and that we need to put together an effort to actually make this national organization. And that's what this is all about. We're basically talking about the needs of the spaces, and the different issues that affect people who are organizing makerspaces in terms of funding, in terms of software and hardware, what are the actual mechanical things that you need to do to make a space work. And we're trying to solve those issues on a scale that speaks to future makers, makerspace organizers. This is the outgrowth of what the process has been. It was announced yesterday formally. We have a new organization called the Nation of Makers. Their website is nationofmakers.us, and that is the top-level organization now for makers. And if, in our case, because we're a new makerspace, that's our point of contact for getting advice about how to do various things, insurance, funding, technical advice, all kinds of useful things. So we get to help others, and collectively others help us. All right, so, okay. Here's a couple of photos from the Osiris Rex launch. This was in September 8th, actually. September 8th. These are the winners. There are actually 6 categories of winners. It was best mission concept, most inspiring, best use of data, best use of hardware, and people's choice, and there was one other. But people from all over the world. There were 2 teams in the US, 1 in Canada, 1 in the UK. There was an Italian team. I think that was 6. And we all got together at a coffee shop in Cocoa Beach, and we got to sort of compare notes and sort of have a little celebration about what we won. And this is us getting on a bus to travel to the launch site, and here we are at the launch site. This is right next to the Saturn V Museum. And I don't have a good view here of the launch, but I do have this, if it'll play. I just realized it might not play. There we go. Maybe that's the wrong. Okay, that's the wrong video. Okay. But that's basically a view of where we were located and all the other groups that were there at the same time. And okay. All right, sorry, I copied the wrong video. I thought it was going to be the launch. But it was a pretty exciting day, a couple of days. We were actually there for 3 days. So this is really even more exciting than that. Tesseract Point actually has a physical location. We've moved into the Stewart Nissan building. We've got about half of it, which is somewhere around 16,000 square feet. The whole building is around 33,000 square feet. This is a view of, well, let me point out this. There's the showroom up front. It's glass enclosed, basically one space with a couple of side offices. This is what used to be the parts department. There's an entrance here that goes to the right into what used to be the waiting room for the parts department, and then to the left to office spaces. The near side of the building is what I was just describing. The back side of the building is basically open service bays where they used to work on cars, and there's basically like 280 feet by 75 feet with one dividing wall. So we can divide that up any way we like to. This is the waiting room, as it was, I guess, when we were just looking at it. There's a front section here. This is, like, if you go in this door and turn right, you're coming in through this door. And back here, you can't quite see it in this photo. This is where we're going to put the main entrance. Okay, and then this is the showroom area here. What we're going to do is put co-working spaces here. And this is where the makerspace is. We've got the electronics lab built in here, the kitchen there, lounge area there. All right, so this is the big open space where we can divide it. This is the lounge as it currently exists. This is some lettering. The only signage in place right now on the wall is this. This is the electronics lab. This is a telepresence robot. That's one of the things that we're working on. And we're calling this place BB 929 because it's 929 Beck Boulevard. So that's just sort of the nickname. And I should realize that doesn't work by now. Okay, so here's a little more. This is the machine shop. We've got woodworking tools and some wood supplies and other materials. There's someone using the lounge. And this is a party we had last night in recognition of the Nation of Makers and, of course, the basic establishment of Tesseract. So that's kind of the idea. I got a little, I didn't finish this, but I had some idea of what the co-working space is going to look like. I want to put table seating like this up against one of the front windows, and then sort of a casual kind of seating similar to this along one of the other walls. Then the rest of it's like a couch, kind of living room area, and then the long table that's kind of standard for shared office space. We've got breakout rooms for if you need a little more privacy, and then meeting rooms if you actually want to have a meeting. And so what's coming up next is membership drives, getting people to actually join in larger numbers. If you saw the party last night, there were 5 people in attendance. There were some people who weren't there. We're a group of maybe under 10. We're really looking for people who are interested in office space, who want to work in a shared office space, and people who want to sponsor the space. It's very important for us to raise money right now. We don't want to get started and then disappear all of a sudden. We've got classes on the schedule. We've got an Arduino class scheduled for tomorrow, and we're going to be putting more classes. We've just started posting regular hours, which are Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 to 5. Up to now, it's been sort of like random. If you wanted to come in and see the space, you'd have to give me a call and make sure that I'm there to open the door. That's about it. Any questions?
We've got access to the lifts.
The lifts are no longer in the building. So we're not doing auto service. Actually, the front service bay is being used by the Salvation Army through the rest of the year. They need warehouse space to store the donations that they're giving to people through their Angel Tree program. And so that's their space until January. In January, then we can move into it. I've got plans for how to subdivide it into basically an auditorium, kind of a reconfigurable auditorium that we call the holodeck, and then some other classrooms and workshops and spaces like that. The back part of the building, the south bay, that won't be available to the makerspace, but it'll eventually be converted into office space, permanent office space, rather than just a generic shared office. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you had your calendar posted.
The calendar right now is in the Facebook group. It's go to Facebook/groups/Tesseract Point. There's not a formal calendar yet. The website itself is still in development. That's TesseractPoint.com. We've got a wiki that's in development there. There's the basic website, and then we're working on some community features for projects and group management, that sort of thing. But that's still in progress.
Question. Are there levels of fees depending on how much accessibility a renter has to your space?
There are, and we have members, not renters. So there's no lease, there's no long-term arrangement or commitment of any kind. You join, you pay month to month. If you want, you can pay several months in advance. There's discounts that you can get for that. But there's no long-term commitment. What we want is for you to see the advantage and the benefit of being part of this, so that when it's time to renew your membership, you do that, right? But there's no actual commitment. So if there's some reason why you need to separate from Tesseract Point, business conditions or something, there's no entanglement that's going to prevent you from doing what you need to do. And that's also part of the purpose of the co-working space, is to lower the barriers to entry. If you're starting your business and you want to concentrate on what your business is, you need space to meet your client, you need space to actually work on what your business is. But you don't want to have to worry about the overhead. You don't have to worry about spending large amounts of money for commercial office space. You pay one small membership fee. The co-working space access is $200 a month. And you get something like 3,000 square feet of space at the front, another 3,000 square feet of space at the back in the makerspace area. And the only caveat is that you have to share it with other people. And the spaces that you get privately by yourself are sort of as available or as scheduled. So you can need a meeting room, you just schedule the meeting room, and it's yours for the duration. I didn't have a photo, I guess, but we've got one room in the showroom that's allocated as a phone room. So if you need to have a Skype call or a regular phone call or something, you go into that room and make your call there, and you don't disturb the other people. There's kind of a large room off to the side that we'll subdivide into 3 different rooms. So we'll have basically 3 phone booths in the middle of the co-working space. But it's $200 a month for the co-working level membership, $55 a month for the standard membership, which is essentially access to the maker spaces. You don't have this access to the meeting rooms, and you don't have access to the co-working space. But there are other spaces for meetings. The lounge, for example, can be an informal meeting room. When we have classrooms, you can schedule events in the classrooms and that sort of thing. So it's a lower level of access, but it's usually for people that have a lower level of commitment. You're not necessarily running a business. You can be at that level still. We don't tell people what they're actually going to be doing. It's up to you to figure out how you want to use the space as a member. But generally, people that are at the standard level of membership are interested in pursuing a hobby or a craft or some interest that requires them access to software and computers and tools and that sort of thing. Then the co-working level membership is people who are probably running a business, or they're a remote employee of another company, or they're a freelancer or some level like that. We do have 3 offices that are available for people who need dedicated office space. So for $400 a month, your membership allows you access to that dedicated space, access to the shared space, and access to the maker spaces and the labs. So those are the 3 primary levels of membership. There's one other level, which is $35 a month, and that gives you access on 3 days on any given week, and you get to choose which those 3 days are, and it can be different 3 days every week. And then there's a day visit, which is $12 a day. So if you just need to come in for a day, you pay that fee and you've got access all day long. You can come and go and whatever. You can bring people in, like a guest or somebody who's working on a project with you. If you're a co-working member and you've got clients you want to meet or employees that you work with, you can bring them in on occasion. Voting, because it's a membership-based organization, everybody has a role in what the business is, the bylaws and the rules, and almost everything can be changed. There's some things that probably can't be changed, but basically everything's determined by the membership. So as the membership grows and the needs of the members become better defined, then we can adapt to whatever those needs are and become more awesome so that our members can become more awesome. Any other questions?
What's your kind of break-even number for how many members you would need to make it sustainable?
We need 12 co-working members. That's basically the capacity of the co-working space right now. It's a little bit arbitrary. We could support more than that, but we've set 12 as the upper limit. Once we have 12, then for a little while at least, we'll stop accepting co-working members. That will help us break even. We need around 10 or 15 maker members, and we need several public events every month to generate additional revenue in order to break even. The business model actually involves 2 organizations, which is why the building is divided in half like that. There's a for-profit organization, which is my engineering company, and I haven't really announced publicly yet what I'm doing. It's primarily robotics. I'm calling it Triplanetary Exploration Systems. And that's what's going to inhabit primarily the back part of the building. And that company is responsible for the overall property, the lease and everything. The Tesseract Point gets half of the building, but its responsibilities are capped. The reason I can cap it at a certain level is because the engineering company can take care of everything beyond that. But it's kind of a multi-step process to actually get all of those pieces into place.
So Tesseract Point is a non-profit?
It's a nonprofit, right?
Okay. And it's already, I'm assuming it's already registered as a fund?
It is not a 501c3. It's registered as a nonprofit in the state of North Carolina. We don't have federal recognition yet.
Okay.
We have been communicating with the fiscal sponsor, and we will probably have an agreement with them very soon. So we're a nonprofit, but not a 501c3 nonprofit.
Got it. So you guys work in that direction, or?
We are working in that direction, yeah. We expect to have fiscal sponsorship for maybe 6 months, and then we'll have a 501c3.
Okay.
Speaking of sponsors, what kind of sponsorship you're looking for?
Almost any kind. Sponsorship, especially like maybe tool companies, some technology companies, something that sort of speaks to our audience so that the message they want to convey is being conveyed in the direction they want it to go. Our audience is mainly high-tech, software development, IT, robotics, electronics, those kinds of industries. We're not limited to that. As far as the makerspace, it's creative activities of all kinds. So it includes art, hobbies, cosplay, electronics, and the technologies. We want to have laboratories for basically any kind of activity. We're set up for the electronics and the machine shop. We've got space allocated for a photo studio already, where we'll have basically a place where people can set it up for photos, and then there's an office for post-processing.
Is there a green screen in there for videos or anything?
Not yet. Right now, it's the back part of the parts department, so it's full of shelves. But basically, we're going to move the shelves out and put up a wall so it's divided from the parts department. And then people that are interested in photography, their members can use it for whatever they need to. And I also want to have one of the offices set up as a darkroom so people can work in old-fashioned film developing and that sort of thing.
And you said you have woodworking equipment.
We have a table saw and a drill press and a number of hand tools so far. We need things like a bandsaw. We're going to be working on some CNC equipment. A lot of that's going to be built in-house. Some of it's going to be purchased as we raise funds. And that's one of the things that the members decide is what is the next piece of equipment we're going to buy? What is it you want? We've got this little bit of money here. We can buy something now with it. What do you want to buy? So things like 3D printers and CNC equipment. A lot of that's available for purchase, but really it's easy to build those kinds of things. And you can develop the software you want on your own. You basically just have a Cartesian table, something that moves a tool XYZ.
That's because you're an engineer. He said it's
Yeah.
easy to build.
That's the job of an engineer, to make something easy. Like you can't, most people don't know how to build an iPhone, right? But they know how to buy it and use it. And it's because the engineers did all the work in advance, all the hard stuff, and it makes everything easy for everybody else. That's what engineering is.
Question
Yeah.
on so the sponsorship, you're looking for sponsors to sponsor financially or in other ways like actual technology, actual software?
All the above. Contributions of technology and hardware, software. One of the reasons why we decided to go with the nonprofit model instead of the for-profit model was so that we could get discounts on things like software.
Right.
Software licenses are usually cheaper for nonprofits and educational institutions. But also financial. We're looking for someone who might want, a little bit of advertising. We can put their logo either on the wall or on events and that sort of thing.
What figures would you be looking for in that role?
Right now, we're putting together a campaign that has a goal of $10,000. We're going to put that on Indiegogo. It's not been launched yet, but that's what we're working on. So the primary goal is to raise $10,000 before the end of this year. That's basically for startup costs, for lumber, for furnishings, painting, interior decoration right now. You've seen it's kind of a draft building so far.
Yeah.
But that's not the vision. The vision is something that's a lot more exciting.
Right.
So we've got, some painting to do inside and painting to do outside. We will have, there's a main entrance that's sort of a reception area that I didn't show you a very good photo of. But the idea there is that when you come in the building, on the wall opposite you will have a panel that will have plaques on it that we call the Wall of Honor. So our individual sponsors and corporate sponsors will have a plaque basically that's in this mosaic. And so that's one way to recognize sponsors.
So sorry, I'm a very
Yeah.
hands-on person. So the logo presentation, is that geared towards a specific sponsorship amount? Or is it time sensitive, like you help us reach this goal of 10,000 before the end of the year?
That hasn't been defined. If you've got some advice for us, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of, big thing in app development is always incentive, right? Because using mobile devices and social media and all those things, you're looking at essentially two different elements, right? The first element is the elegant organization model, right? Which is the whole find communities that are doing things and help them do it better.
Right.
Right? Just Mark Zuckerberg's concept. So bring them elegant organization. So communities already exist. So I'm thinking if you're looking at sponsors who are in that tech, software, hardware kind of space, right? Those communities exist. Fayetteville has had a lot of history in terms of construction in the past. And so I'm sure there's communities in that space, and that advertising relationship could be valuable to them to say, hey, put your logo, you're a sponsor, et cetera, et cetera. On the other side, the incentive is particular rewards or utilization of the space. So you get the sponsorships, you can have, use classrooms, for X amount of time without, having the need. And I'm thinking of that more so because you have in the second incentive, there's a lot more intangible value to that.
Okay.
To bring an investor and say, hey, we help sponsor the space, this is what's going on. The investor comes around, you walk into Tesseract and say, we're gonna have a meeting there at Tesseract Point, and I wanna show you the space that we have. You have a plaque on the wall, there's our logo, that adds value, and especially to employees and people associated with the company.
Right.
To know that. So I see those two incentives, and I think there could definitely be something worked out in both areas of sponsoring hardware, software, whatever. Because as a tech company, it's a no-brainer for me to talk about software. I know Google will give it to you for free as a nonprofit, the Google Suite and all the apps.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of open source software that we can get that's actually very capable.
Yep.
But there are also other packages that people will benefit from having the experience of using.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, so that's where I'm thinking in terms of, because one of the benefits potentially that's there in a co-working space like that, or even for makers, is to get access to software you wouldn't normally be able to access on your own.
exactly.
Yeah, so in terms of businesses who would want to cater to that, it would be great, because as any business develops in that co-working space or anything comes out of it, to know that you are part of helping develop that, because you help sponsor the software.
Right.
That's really what brings value. For most entrepreneurs I know, right, it's about the contribution, it's about the innovation, it's about the change. That society is different, because you created this thing.
Right.
So anyway.
That's important to think about, yeah.
In terms of those incentives.
The return on the sponsorship that the sponsor will expect.
Yeah.
So
But I
it's
can
got-
talk to you about it more. I have some ideas, kind of framing them at the moment.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, I'd like to talk with you more.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
It's exciting.
It is. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
well-
visit.
Okay. Yeah, come visit.
Next week's Thanksgiving, because you said Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Do you have an event today?
I don't have an event today. We can. That's why I was kind of hesitating. Was I'm trying to think, because the middle part of the early part of the afternoon, nobody's going to be there. But we can. 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 We can But after 5, we
Before in
can.
the evening?
It'll be more in the evening today.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are the days that I want to start trying to be there from 9 to 5. So we've actually got that posted on the Facebook page for the location. But a lot of things are a little uncertain. We really need to have more members available. One of the members and I, well, him more than me, we're working on an access control system. So right now, you have to have a key to physically get in the building right now. Once we have the access control system in place, you'll have a membership badge. You basically just go up to the door and you swipe it. If you're authorized, you get to go into that part of the space. But that's not in place yet. When that's in place, we can actually go to 24/7. So if you're a member, say you're an office member, and you have a presentation or something the next day, you get to work late. And nobody's going to say you have to leave because we're closing the door, right? If you work in a coffee shop, you have to leave at 9 or 10 or 12 if you know the one coffee shop that's open till 12. If you lease office space somewhere in a commercial building, you can go there anytime you like, right?
That's right.
We want to have that same kind of freedom, even though it's a co-working space, it's a shared space. If you're a member and you paid for it, you get to go up, swipe your card, go in, and go to work, right? Whatever hours you need to work. And that's the same for the makerspace. There are a lot of issues associated with that in terms of security and that kind of thing. So we need a way to make sure who's coming to the building at different times.
Also, if you're gonna have people leave their equipment there.
Yeah. So we have lockers. The co-working space is going to have lockers. The parts department is going to be a place where people can store their work in progress securely.
You want sponsors to contact you directly?
Right now, I'm the primary point of contact, yes.
You got cards with you today?
I do. I have a few. Would you like one?
Sure.
Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. Now, your target market is a little different from this young lady over here, right?
I think so. I know her. I had a little conversation with her. But
There's a little overlap, but not much.
Thank you.
I don't know if you're running low.
Anyone else? I am. I haven't printed notes.
No, you didn't give me a card, you gave me your little, I asked about your event, you got a little thing that.
You gave us a little paper. This the last one?
For those of you who don't have his contact info, his information is up on the 1 Million Cups Fayetteville website.
You have a website too, right?
Our website is teststrikepoint.com.
Yeah.
And the Facebook group is group/teststrikepoint. And we have the meetup group also that's called Fayetteville Makers. Those are the primary social networks for us.
So the name came from the analog of the cube?
It did, yeah. The hypercube in 4 dimensions is called a tesseract. And I first heard about it from a short story by Robert Heinlein that I read in high school.
Which one?
And he built a cricket house.
Okay.
You know that one?
Okay. Yeah, I'm Strange Landing, my pipe is my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. But I ran across that in a collection of short stories. I actually posted about it on the Facebook group, so you can find it there.
What do you think of Lazarus Lawn?
He lived a very